r/AskReddit by Redmond Dtes. What's the biggest mistake you've watched someone make in their personal life? My brother ran for public office without having an agenda. He had no leadership qualifications, background in position, or support from anyone in the community. He took out a 10 grand personal loan to finance his political run and held one fundraiser where most of the attendees were family and couldn't vote for him. He lost badly, coming in last behind 4 other candidates. It took him years to pay back the loan and refill his savings, which he completely drained to pay for signage and flyers. Saddest of all, the printer misspelled his name on both items, so any remnant is a harsh reminder of how badly things went. A guy in his mid-50s always worked under the table. Never filed a tax return. Didn't understand that he wouldn't qualify for Social Security. When I showed him the requirements on the government website, I thought he was going to cry. Waste their entire inheritance on drugs. One girl I know inherited just under 100 grand. Her grandmother passed away. This girl has serious mental health issues and is a druggie. Blew all the money on drugs within 3 months. My uncle got himself a mistress. Lent her $10,000 he never got back and lost his job defending her at work. Wife served him divorce papers short afterwards. He gave up his house to his wife. So he ended up jobless and homeless, sleeping on our couch at the ripe age of 60. My friend failed psych evals to join the army. Once he got around that exception he was kicked out within a year. He robbed a corner store less than a mile from his house. He was in full SWAT gear with a tactical mask. Everyone knew exactly who it was. There were 8 calls to Crime Stoppers identifying him. He was arrested within 3 hours of the crime with a still loaded pistol in his car. If he had used a fake gun or an unloaded pistol he would have gotten half or quarter the prison sentence. He went from being in the army to prison in less than a month. Single mother of 3 living in poverty. Gave her parents her $6,000 tax refund to hold on to because she didn't want her abusive ex to convince her to split it with him. Parents spent it all in weeks. Have kids under the hope they'll fix their marriage. Children are not accessories. Being passive and just letting everything happen to him. He wasn't sure if he wanted kids or not, but his girlfriend did, so they had sex without condoms. She got pregnant, with twins. He looks absolutely miserable. Similar things happened to him involving housing. His family convinced him to put the parents' mortgage in his name. Things got messy. Don't just let things happen to you. This is completely underrated advice, and where a lot of people fudge up. This girl who rented out my parents' basement was not great at making smart life choices. She married someone who was serving life in prison for murder. She met him through her cousin who was also in prison. She eventually got a huge chest tattoo of his last name, and more tattoos of his name all over her body. He ended up being transferred to the east coast of Canada. She lived in the west coast, and she up and abandoned her 2 kids to be close to her husband. One of her kids is severely handicapped, but she never gave a crap about being a parent to her. Anyways, about 3 months after moving she posts all over her socials that they broke up, and she quickly tried getting the chest tattoo covered up. 2 weeks later she announced they worked it out and they were together again. They kept doing this pattern of fight, break up, make up and repeat. Again. She had 2 daughters she up and abandoned for a man who will most likely never get out of prison. My friend chose to have a child with a man who had cheated on her multiple times, while still in high school. Hey, I know a girl who did that too. He's still happily cheating on her every few months or so. Friend worked hard to gain the credentials to advance his career to his goals. It took 4 months for him to get busted having an affair with a subordinate and he lost all he worked for and ended up losing his license. Affairs are freaking stupid. If you're not happy, leave. Affairs at the workplace are really stupid. Don't crap where you eat. Affairs at the workplace with a subordinate are next level stupid. Even if you set aside the moral implications of abusing the power dynamic in an organization hierarchy, you are giving someone with their own goals and ambitions with completely unknown intentions the perfect material to blackmail you and potentially ruin your life. My sister owned a home with her husband and first child. Her father-in-law convinced them that if they sold their house and became live-in caretakers for some old relative of his that he would leave his supposedly nice house in Austin to them. They'd get to live rent-free at this house. It would be theirs outright when he dies, and they'd be set. So they sell their house, move to Austin where they don't have jobs and move in with this guy. And it's absolute chaos. Guy is constantly watching porn on the living room TV with their toddler around, doing inappropriate old guy stuff, telling them what they can and cannot do in the house and when they can come and go. It's a freaking nightmare. They end up leaving the house and getting their own place. They also eventually moved to another state for a few years and came back. They've never been able to buy another house since housing prices have gone way up and they didn't have enough equity on their other house that they sold. So they've been bouncing from crappy apartment to crappy apartment ever since. Must be my disabled brother who fell for an internet scam. He met a woman online. She lived in a different continent but he was certain she was the love of his life. Spent over a year chatting and emailing her and helping her with money from time to time. Very fishy stuff, but he refused to listen to my skepticism. It ended when he had saved up enough money to go visit her. He went, came back 2 days later and refused to ever admit what had happened. Went to his grave without ever talking about it. Second place goes to my father who cheered him on. He wasn't sure whether it was a scam or not, but he thought it was nice that my brother had hopes and dreams. A buddy that lived with me for a while got a car he couldn't afford because he was obsessed with image. Stopped making payments, tried to part out the car and report as stolen since he had the bright idea that would bring more money than just giving it back to the bank. Then got into check fraud, which landed him in jail. Been in and out of the system ever since, from stories I hear. Dump all of their savings, 30 grand or so, into random crypto at the height of the market. They were trying to get more money to put towards a house but lost a majority of it when things crashed. When their significant other found out they left. One of my best friends walked out on his wife and 2 kids because a girl at the gym and him were having a relationship. As it actually turned out, she was just being friendly and chatting to him. No relationship, no mutual decision to be together, nothing. He misunderstood polite friendliness for flirting, and destroyed his own family for it. How? Never even kissed her and had it in his head they would be together? I watched a wasted guy throw 2 grand on a single roulette number, lose it, withdraw 5 grand more, and put it on the same number and lose it and then stare at the table. All while on a cruise ship. Then I went and had an old fashioned and it was wonderful. Saw an occasional drinking buddy start taking heroin at 34 years of age. Homeless within 6 months. The stupid cut. How the hell does someone make it to 34 and then think, you know what? I think I'll do heroin. She was 14. He was 37. Have another kid. After number 13. Having a third kid, when you can barely afford the first 2 in order to save the marriage. Good friend messed around with a young Brazilian woman whose ulterior motive was to get married to stay in United States. She got pregnant. He wouldn't marry her even after baby born, so she moved back to Brazil. He is now in his 50s raising a toddler that speaks Portuguese. That's all folks. Thank you for watching. If you like videos like this one, why not like and subscribe for more? Have a nice evening.